Yeah.
Rabbi, do you mind if we stream this? A few people
Okay.
can show us.
Okay. Very good. So now we have this. So share the link. You have WhatsApp on this computer?
No, you'll just tell them to go onto the thing. It will be live. Go to WhatsApp.
One second. Let's see what happens.
This should be WhatsApp connected.
Chat. You can do your WhatsApp and send it to me. So, perfect. It's fine. Every beginning of everything is to do with your phone. You have your phone?
It can be connected to my phone.
Oh yeah. Amazing. That was A. That's you. Yeah.
It's not. It's not you either. It's actually. It's not even this one. It's a different.
From his capital land.
It's yummy. Yeah. You need a. One second. Where's Rabbi? Rabbi. Okay, shah, Hebre. Shah.
First of all, shalom aleichem to everybody. It's very important to realize the importance of chazering these halachos, right? And I'll share with you a bunch of stories in Mitzvah Hashem. But before that, I'll share with you another story. There was once a lady that went to a review, and she came back home very disappointed. She told her husband, we had to arrange babysitting, we had to arrange this and that, so I should be able to go. And I didn't learn anything new. I wasted my time. What do you think the husband's response is? Baruch Hashem, you didn't learn anything new. It was just a chazara. It means up until now, you were doing everything right. You're just refreshing to make sure that the dinim are fresh in your mind. And I'll tell you a secret. There's also on the flip side. After the first review that we did, somebody came over to me a few days later. And he says, you mentioned about the shir kach v'kach. I didn't know about it, and this happened a few years ago. Let's figure out now if it was a problem. What happened a few years ago? So what happened? Of course, you learned it properly the first time. Elamai, he's married Baruch Hashem for a long time, and you overthink things that, what's the big deal? What's the shaila b'chlal, right? So you have both extremes. For those that it's a chazara, this is the best. Baruch Hashem, it's just a chazara. Everything is fresh in your mind. And for those that it's you learn something new, also Baruch Hashem, you're learning something new. Now, we can ask ourselves a question: why is the shir for men? What do we have to do? You need to know dinei archakav, and that's it. You have to know how to make a b'dika. You have to know how to keep a luach. You have to know chafifa. It's not your business. It's not the Torah says of a safra law. Right? The Safra law means the Torah gave namanos to the Isha. It's her mitzvah. You mix out of it. Right? No? It's easier that way, right? No, it's not so simple. So I always like to share over the story, and it's an important thing to remember. It's something important to remember the way you approach the mitzvah. So one time, when I was by the Betzina Dayan in Borough Park, I say over the story all the time, so maybe you've heard it from me, but one time somebody called. One time somebody called and they asked a shaila. So he started asking questions. Okay, so what about this? I don't know. Okay, what about that? I don't know. Asking a bunch of questions to find out if it's sad cool is something to get out of it, so to speak. And I don't remember if he said it to him or he said it to us. He said the next question would have been, "Are you married? You don't know what's going on with your family? What's going on over here? Is she taking this and this type of medication?" Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I'm just going with the shaila. My wife asked me to call. And he threw in a line that this is not the derech of Yadus. This is not Yiddishkeit. What's that? Yeah, it's a minhag Yisrael, but we refer to this mitzvah as Taharas Hamishpacha, not Taharas Isha. Right? This mitzvah is not just putting a burden on your wife and that's it. Yeah, call me when you're out. No, that's not the way the Torah looks at it. Minhag Yisrael Torah, the fact that the Torah called that Yidden call it Taharas Hamishpacha means that this mitzvah is a mitzvah which is inherent to the entire mishpacha. Side to the husband, he has a responsibility to make the mitzvah easier. It's not a secret that it could be a challenge for many ladies to have a geschmack in the mitzvah. It could be embarrassing. It could be very time-consuming. It's what's wrong with me? I can't get clean. All these inyanim. The husband has to be aware and do whatever he could in his ability to make this mitzvah easier. Another reason why we have to chazer these halachas is not just because to make it easier, but there's also actual practical halachic applications. What are those? Because if you're not so fluent in the halachas and you don't feel so comfortable to ask a rav, which we know this is the reality by many, and we'll speak of that in a second, what's going to happen? You're going to end up asking for yourself. And what's going to happen? You can go both ways. Either you're going to be too machmir on yourself or you're going to be too mekel on yourself. And I'll explain. Let's put Kidel Shulchan Aruch on the side. I'm going to ask you about Balabatish Shayla and we'll see what the answer is. What do you think is worse? A very large kasim, the size of a quarter, on a beged savua, or on a bedika, tiny little speck of dam? Option. Oh, because you guys don't halacha. Very good. But if somebody's not so mateichen yadin, they see something, they go crazy. For sure, this is no good. What's a shayla? Such a big kasim is dam. You're going to tell me such a little speck is a problem, and this is okay? It doesn't make any sense, right? So if they're not fresh in the halachas, they're going to start counting for no reason, right? And then you have the opposite extreme. It's a beged tzavur, it's not a problem. The speck of dam, that's going to be a problem? It doesn't make any sense. We were just matayr something which is the size of a quarter on the beged tzavur. You're going to come down and be matayr something which is mamash atipas dam kechagol? Doesn't make any sense, right? So that's why it's always, you have to be fresh in the halachas to know what's what. Okay, Omer Hashem, this is what Abisha said. In this case, the halacha is like this. In this case, the halacha is like that. And without chazara, without being involved in the dinim, for sure you're going to make a mistake. I'll tell you more than that. Unfortunately, it's a common occurrence that when somebody calls it a shiloh, they're holding, let's say, day 4. And they have a shiloh on day 4, whatever it is. And then in the middle of the conversation, it comes out that they were never married to begin with. Because they passed in Chumrah for themselves, they made themselves into the one they were completely not. Now they wasted 5 days, and now they have a shiloh on the 4th day. They think they have to restart it creates big problems, right? So that's why, number 1, it's very important to do chazal in these dinim, and number 2, I'll tell you something, it's a big secret, and once you hear it, you'll know it's so simple. You have to have it up, and you have to ask shilas. There's no 2 ways about it. Especially in these inyanim, they can be shred shilas, they can be pashta shilas. ultimately, it's not fair to you and your family to pass it for yourself because it's going to bring to mistake, Chas v'shalom. And another nakuda of why it's important that you should find yourself a Rav that you feel comfortable with, because it's not a healthy thing for the mishpacha to call whoever picks up first. I'll call here, I'll call there, I know for Tainesim, I call this one, for that, I call that one. It's not a healthy thing for your family, and I'll explain to you why. I'll give you a story that I heard from somebody that it happened. He was in the room when it happened. This is in Lakewood, we're allowed to say in this medrash. There's a big guy in Shlomo Katz, if anyone heard of him. His Talmud was in the room, the story happened. He's the one that told it to me.
You're lucky some people are not
Okay. That's right, you ready? Got rid of that straight also, yeah? So a younger man walks into this Rav, and wow, it was a Shiloh that the Rav looked at him and he said, "It's good." Okay, the young man is very happy. Thank you so much. Very, very nice. He walks off. Life is good. His Talmud was in Steinem. What just happened over here? What just happened over here? What did he answer him? He said, "If you know this young man, it's already been months. The Shalom Bayis is terrible." And he kept, it was a nice list. So no, you have to be nichnas the kirtz of the chukkah to find a heter in the tiny shel Rabbi. So if somebody doesn't have their own Rav and somebody who knows their matziv, it's not going to happen to anything, right? This young man was smart. He's struggling, but he has somebody who he's bringing the shilas to. He has somebody who's discussing with, somebody who's helping him there, and the Rav knows his matziv and he's able to help him. With the erech, obviously, it's not pshat that his matziv is something which is also chas v'shalom. It's not the pshat. Pshat was, well, you need a kula. It's a real chance of chak. We're saying on things that usually lav dafka you'd be saying on. And the shoyl has to realize that the matara of the Rav is l'tayr yishul abayla. Yeah, everyone knows the famous Gemara with David HaMelech. What was he praising himself with? All the Malchei U'Misraelim, all the Goyish Malachim. What are they doing? They're sitting 9 o'clock, sitting with their crowns. I'm a Melech. What is David HaMelech saying? What's my claim to fame? Oh, my head. Yahweh L'Floch is the dam l'tayr yishul abayla. This is what he was busy with. Can you imagine a Rabbi Yisrael, a Nasi Yisrael? What is he busy with? What's his shlichus? He has so many things to worry about. He has a tzarka for Nasa for the entire Klal Yisrael. Mechamas, b'chul, whatever it is, mechamas Hashem. What is he taking pride in? Yaldim l'chloch is b'dam l'tayr yishul abayla. It's not a possible thing if you think about it. Imagine it's Imam Shenebe. Yeah, and what is he busy with? Making shalom ben ish le'ishta, bringing Tad into Klal Yisrael, into Jewish homes. So, when asking a shayla also, you have to realize not to be embarrassed. And this is the matana of love, right? He's not going to bite you. He's there to help you. He's there in the time of the This is the matana, and you have to look at it from a Torah perspective. So this is the Dvar Hashem. What does Eibishter want? Okay, I have a shayla. It's a little bit embarrassing. Okay, it could be embarrassing, but if you realize the fact that the Torah gave this mitzvah, the Torah wasn't shy. The Torah said these are the dinim. And not only that, it's l'tevas chad, for your own good to keep these dinim. First of all, you connect to the Eibush, it's a mitzvah. And second, al-pash v'gashmis, it brings bracha into your house. How many times do we know from the Rebbe, people needed Yeshua's, whatever it is, children, b'chulu, diuk, and shminas, taharas, Hamishpacha. So, with that example, we'll start just to have a few dinim. And the first thing I want to discuss is how does a lady become a nidam? The magda, the raisa, the rabbanon, and other things that sometimes are overlooked. So we know anybody who opens up a Torah, and we know that there's 3 things that are required with the raisa to render one nidam, and that's Riyas dam, obviously has to be red, has to be bargasha, and it has to be from the rechem. Those are the 3 things required in order for there to be Tumas Nidim B'Deiraisa. One of the things that he mentions is Agasha. Right? The famous. Anyone know what it is? Me neither. It's not Nimtza. Agasha means there's a Machlaikis, we'll see in the Pesach Tshuva. It's about an Aleph in the Shulchan Aruch. There's 3 different types of Agasha. For whatever reason, it doesn't exist today. It's not Motzah. People usually do not have this. It used to be a mall that was in Isaiah called Gufa, should Mamish from Shak. When it would come, or should feel Psichis Pi on the curb. Whatever it is, for some reason, today's day and age, such a thing doesn't exist. And the other thing is, Midrabanon is Ksamim. Yeah, you see a Kasim. A Kasim is not just a stain, but can be a wide variety of things. If it's dam, which is Vadim Magufa, so even though there's no Argasha, but if it's Vadim Magufa, you know for a fact that it's coming from her, this is a dig of Nidim Midrabanon of Tumas Ksamim. Also, if you find it on a white garment, we know it has to have a Shir Kibris V'Oid, right? So any Yazdam on a Kasim is not automatically an issue. It has to be the Shir of Kibris V'Oid, which is just under the size of a dime. Then there's the Kasimov Sada, right? Something, a stain which is found on the body. The emissaries is a big machlokes. We say that you have a share or you don't have a share. So everyone, if it happens, you'll ask your Rav, but you should know that there's machlokes, there's different shittas, and whatever the Rav is going to pass him, that's the right psak in this case. Now, we mentioned earlier, in order for there to be a Tumas Nidim Denaisa, you have to have a Gasha. So the famous Shaila is, right, I'm sure you've heard about it, how can there be a Tumas Nidim Denaisa there's none as well, there's no Gasha? A person can think to themselves, one second, if there's no Gasha, so it's only Ksamim. And Ksamim, if you wear a Vegetzavor, or you wear a Donshim Akamatama, you're good to go. There's no Gasha, right? So the answer is no, it's not so simple. The numbers behind it, we can leave for different share. But the Nakuda is, if the Derech Hariyah happens, it's the same amount as a regular flow, around the size of a credit card, a $50 bill, whatever it is. If there's such a large amount of dam, so we treat this as a Hariyah Vadai, this is for sure a period, and even if somebody is wearing a Davashin Kamatuma or a Begit Tzavor, it's not going to help, because it's a period. This is the Raisa, so the leniencies that we have like Samim are colored, and Davashin Kamatuma do not apply.
Very large Kasimov on a Begit Tzavor is coming?
Depends. It has to be all red. It has to have a share. Around the size of $50 bill or credit card, whatever. It's never such a large amount.
The answer is yes, a very large one. But,
Yeah.
but if she finds Dam al Sarah, is that the Raisa or that's still the
Rabbanan is still Rabbanan. Kasimov Sada, yeah. So, and this is asking later on this Makoda. Few Siddish ladies, not Siddish ladies in the Flora Park, Williamsburg, they came with an on-saw to wear black pants. What's the cheshbon behind it? Exactly this. Since it's not Gasha anyways, just ignore it. It's designed in a special way, you can miss the whole entire thing. That's it, what's the big deal? There's not Gasha, everything's fine. No, it's not a joke. It's not a joke. As a sniff the alma, yeah, sometimes. So, what's the problem? The problem is it doesn't work. And it's a big, big mixture. It's already been many letters that came out that one should not use it. People use Shaf al-Shainis. It's also b'chul because ultimately it's a mixture. Because we know many times if somebody has a hard time staining b'chul, what is the Rabbi going to tell them? Don't look. Right? Cloud don't look. Don't look. The problem is when it's taken way out of context and you don't look, after they you miss the period. And that's what these black pads were designed on purpose for this exact reason. And it's a real big mixture. People don't realize that it's not Mevatel. You're not Mevatel. The Isser is there. You're not Mevatel. It's ignoring the Isser L'Chatchila. It's turning a blind eye to the Isser. Mevatel is a pshat that it's an Isser, and I'm in Mevatel it, it's not Isser anymore. Now I can use a Beheta. That's the Rabbanan, you're not allowed to do that. Over here, it's a Re'iyah. Ignoring it is not pshat that it's mutter. The pshat is I fooled myself to think that everything's okay when it's not. That's the difference. So it's very important, right? Many times, and this is a proper heter, and it's given a lot, people are having a hard time, don't look. What this means is don't look at the tissues. Don't make problems for yourself when you don't have to. We know Kol Hayadam Abba Livnik Areza B'Shabachas. The Gemara says the Mishnah Daf Yudalid and Nida, and it's brought twice in the Mechaber, but we know that this klal doesn't apply to Zman Hazeh. It's true to Rabbi, whatever it is, why we don't say it. But when it says don't look, it means don't look at the tissue, but don't chalila ignore the re'iyah. That's not what we meant. This is a very, very important kudah. We know that Ein Psich is a kever b'lei dam. This is not so commonly known. Right? Some people know about it, and some people don't. And I just want to tell you that what I mentioned earlier about the young man that came after the shir to ask, wow, I didn't know about this din, it was actually referring to this din of Ein Psich is a kever b'lei dam. What's Ein Psich is a kever b'lei dam? What does that mean? It means that you have the rechem, right? We mentioned earlier that in order for there to be tumas nida, it has to be the iyas dam from the rechem, it has to be argasha, and it has to be from the chemeshis mini damin. Let's put that on the side. Then the Gemara tells us there's another Haggadah which can render somebody nida. It's machlekes the Rambam and the Rosh. We pass that it is. We do say Ein Psich is a kever b'lei dam. That means that you actually open the uterus, and even if there was no dam, nothing came out. The etzem psicha, the Gemara says Ein Psich is a kever b'lei dam. And that itself is able to be mutam. Right? So what's a practical application of this din? Doctors want these checkups, right before Leda, they want to see how open the cervix is, or many times for fertility treatment, whatever it is, where they have to do special tests, they have to go into the rechem, sometimes with a camera, or with a certain dye to check it out, to make sure that everything's okay, that there's no stima, and they actually go into the rechem. So this is important to remember. There's a klal of Ein Psich is a kever b'lei dam. That means that if anything went into the rechem, now there is a shear. It's not an automatic problem, but there is a shear. There's different shittas in what the shear is, so everyone's going to ask thereof what they hold. It can range from 2 millimeters, 3 millimeters, 4 millimeters, whatever it is. That's something to have in mind. That's making a checkup. Before you go to a checkup, find out, hey, what is the doctor doing? They're doing just a regular pap smear, they're doing something more invasive. What's the name of the procedure? If they're going to do a procedure, which after you call the Rav, you're going to realize there's a shayla of this procedure, find out how thick the diameter of the catheter is. Or whatever they're putting into the rechem, find out how thick it is. How many millimeters? So I'll tell you a secret. The reality is sometimes the doctors don't know. They don't know. They don't care. There's enough community for them. They're going in to do the procedure. They don't care if it's little, that it's the difference of 1 millimeter makes a whole difference. For them, it's not type of smoking. At least find out which type of catheter it was. Is it a French catheter, this one, that one? Find out the name. Then at least they'll be able to find out afterwards if it had a shear or not. And also, another very important thing to remember is...
You can trust them?
Oh, okay, we'll get to that in a second. That's a very good shiloh. You have a shiloh, can you trust them? We'll get to that in a second. Sorry?
You don't know why you're asking.
They don't know why you're asking.
I'll tell you a story about that in a second. Remind me. Oh, very good. Very, very good. Okay, we'll get to that in just a second. It's a big problem. The doctors that know it's a big problem.
That was talk. He said, doesn't matter what the situation is.
I heard, I heard from the Tzimmerdain, there was a certain, they hired a new midwife, a new whatever, and in the training they said if you have a female lady, she's asking you shilos, right away the training is you should respond, yeah, it's not a problem, yeah, it's 100% fine, it's not a problem. Be very careful. So what's the answer? How do you get out of that? So, okay, there's Shus and Sham, that Moshe, that the etzem in these things, it's not a problem. Okay, let's get that in a second. I just wanted to finish off one kudo. Even if there's no shear in the machshir, in the catheter that went into the rechem, let's say it was less than the shear. Let's say everything was fine, but there was the ears down. That's for sure a problem. But if we said the whole problem is Ein Psich is a kever b'lei dam, that's talking about being matama without the ears down, without seeing blood, right? But if there's blood, that's for sure an issue.
What shear?
Sorry?
At what shear?
Any shear, because it's bad in the gufa. It's coming mamish from the rechem. It doesn't have the same
Not a kesem?
No. Even if it's a kasam, you have the case in placing. Anything which is vadai from the rechem, there's no shear. Why not? I'll explain. No, she sees. You see the blood. The reif is never on the chumrah to tell you there was blood. They have the nemanis l'chumrah to tell you there's blood. They don't necessarily have nemanis l'chumrah to tell you there's a makkah.
Going with a camera, for sure you see blood.
Not necessarily. Depends how thick it is. Not necessarily. Sometimes after birth, many times it's very open naturally. So going in depends where you're holding the cycle. Lav dafka you're going to see blood. Let's explain this. Why is there no shear? It's very simple. Why do we have a shear kibuz va'id in order for it to be a problem? Anyone remember? It's a machelas, right? This man Chazal, when they were geyser the Gzeir of Ksavim, what happened? They were meko up until the shear of the kibuz va'id. There's a nice dick in Alter Rebbe. Why kibuz va'id? With these two words, Alter Rebbe and has a lot of passion. Because the dam is able to be mispashed and kibuz va'id. This is the way the Alter Rebbe puts it. So even though it by itself may not have the ability to fill a kibuz va'id, how can you still be meko? Why are we giving you such a big shear of kibuz va'id? When Alter Rebbe writes it, because it's able to be mispashed and kibuz va'id. But that's a side point. What happens if it's vadi megufa? What happens when I know it's from the locker? The whole reason I say I wasn't gozer is because Shema Ma'alma also maybe it came from a bug. It's a suffix. I don't know. I didn't see it leaving me. Maybe it's from a bug. So Chazal may call that we're not gozer on this. But if you know it's for sure from the uterus, it's for sure from the rechem, there's no clear. It's from any shear. Back to the doctors, huh? Back to the doctors. So the common practice is you ask them in advance. As we mentioned, what's the name of the procedure? Which tool they're using, and was there any blood, right? So what's going to happen? They're going to tell you, there was blood, but it's from the cervix, right? As per their training. So if it's a Frei doctor, even as a yid, but he's not frum, he doesn't give Taharas Mishpacha, he's not Neman. He does not have Nevanos, and for sure if it's a guy. So what do you do? You have them write a letter on their stationery with their letterhead that I checked plainness was plainness. I performed this exam. There was blood, but there's a makkah. It's not enough. They should say it's not from the rechem. It's not from the uterus. They actually have to identify a tliyah. They have to identify that the dam was coming from this and this place, not from the rechem. Right? Because the whole yesod you could be matter is with a tliyah. Telling me that it's not from the rechem is not enough. Because the Mishnah says you have a raiv, damin, which are found over there, the raiv comes from the knocker. So for them to tell me it came from somewhere else, it's not enough. You actually need a tzliya, you need to pinpoint another place where it could be coming from.
Why is he not Neman if he doesn't have any reason to lie?
Which is said.
The mission says that it's real.
In New York,
They'll find that.
In New York, the train.
helps because of the presentations on the line.
It's not so much reputation, but if I'm putting something on paper with my name on it, and I'm going to go to another doctor, and they're going to say there's no such tzliya, you don't have a cut. It's going to go very bad with the first doctor, right? Be much more careful. There's a chazak on the uman. He's not going to mess up his own business, right? You're not going to put your name on the line. So how do you get him to feel this achrayus? Give me a letter with your name on it, with your stationery on it. Then it's official. And
Are they going to?
yes, even out of town. It's a good question. Are they going to? The only time I had that they didn't do it was somebody was traveling in India. They were in an emergency room, and they didn't want to. I don't know what they were doing there, but
everybody else that asked, they gave it, or some
Yes,
people
sure.
said yes, some
No, they gave it.
was it always the case that it
When they
was
shake their head no, they mean yes.
what?
When they shake their head no.
when they
Could be.
so and whenever they said that what it was true, that it was from the cervix.
We have the rishos to believe them.
No, but back at the always gave papers, meaning that it always had
No.
Oh, something.
Sometimes they'll say it's from the rechem. I can't help you. It's from the rechem.
What about the size of the catheter?
What do you mean? Oh, the honest that you can believe them for sure. They don't know what the shit is. They don't know what's the right answer, what's the wrong answer, and it's something you can always look into. What was the name of the catheter? They give you the name, automatically you can search it on Google and find out what the shit was. That they can't lie to you about, right?
But you can't double check. Maybe they could just throw a name. It was this guy.
After the catheter,
Why would they? Why?
You're not allowed to lie to you.
They don't know which one's going to the best. Why would they lie?
Yeah.
That's not allowed. So that's
Yeah. So just to name a few procedures which are problematic and those which are okay. So there's something called the IUD. I don't know if anyone's heard of it, whatever it is. IUD. Such an action. It's important people know about it because it's something which is not it's manenu. So look out to Rebbe, if you put in an IUD, you take out an IUD, this is metame. Even if they're going to tell you there's no dam, even if they're going to tell you there was dam, but it's coming from the cervix, it's not from the rachem, it's metame. Because M6 like below dam, it's bigger than the shear that we hold by M6 like below dam. Another common procedure, this is very common by fertility treatments, whatever it is something called yes, both ways, yes. Another common procedure is the HSG. Whatever, it's a long name. I don't even remember it offhand. But this also, the data clouds metame. Sometimes now they started using a different type of catheter, so it's good to find out which catheter they're using, find out in advance, and call it off. Because the last thing you need is you call it off after the procedure. You have no idea any information, and you can't get a hold of the doctor. You're stuck. Right? So it's important. Place the phone call, or at least before the procedure, write down, ask the doctor before they do it, the facts. Another way that a lady can become Nida is, believe it or not, and I don't know why, but I've quite a few shabbos in this. If a lady says Tmei on me, you're stuck. Right, in Kufay Hey, we have that if a lady says, if Isha says Tmei on me,
How do you say that in English?
I'm a Nida. I'm Nida, that's it. So that a clown, it's game over. Why? What's the numbers behind it? Isha has a master, we'll get to that in a second, yeah. Oh, there you go. Shavi Anav Sheikh Atichat Suda. A person, we have Alter Rebbe in Kunter Seifen and Hilchos Shkita, which explains there's a big machlokes in the Rebbe, some seifers, big chuvas written on this. The biggest problem is there's no rishonim on the sugya. It's only achreinim. Whatever. That's a different topic. The Alter Rebbe goes with the mahalach that how does this din work? The Alter Rebbe writes a person, just like a bezdin is able to be geizer gzeiris, right? So too a person is a bezdin on themselves, and they're able to be geizer on themselves, whatever it is. So if a person says, if a lady says Tmei Ali, so then we have this sort of person is a bezdin on themselves, and say the din of Shavi Anav Shechatichat Surah, they become actually a nida, and they actually have to count 5 days. They have to count it like a regular nida does. They have to count the shirikim, b'cholo, and actually have to table. There's a machlekes, if you make a bracha, you don't make a bracha. That's a different topic. But I'll upon them, it's important.
Can a bigger bezdin outdo what? So let's say you say she's considered a smaller bezdin, like
No. Shavi Nafshe, no. Shavi Nafshe.
So it's like as if it's a bezdin, she'll shoot back.
Oh, very good. Is there any way out of it? So,
100%.
okay. You're not wrong. I'll tell you in a second. We'll get to that in a second. What's the way out? So, an amaskla. Emes loy. Yeah, the way that says it. Emes loy. What's an amaskla? Emes loy. It's not sure I was massing myself as a nida. I only said it because kach v'kach. So in the Rishonim we have 3 examples. 2 examples and another way of this scenario. The first example is that your sister and your mother are in town, and I don't feel comfortable. Yeah, so I said that's why I said Tmei Ali. But that's I'm not, and that's the reason why I said it. So that is brought in Rishonim. This is a good amaslo, right? Another example which is brought is I didn't have the koyach, I didn't have the whatever it is. And if she says afterwards, that's the reason why I said it. It's not sure that was Be'etzman Nida, also Ne'emenes. Then we have a Shach in Kufrei Hey that writes from the Sefer Truma that if somebody saw the ears down and she said, "Oh, I'm a nida," but then she checked herself and she found she's a makkah, the dam she saw was not dam nidus. Also, it's not a problem. Based on the shach, it's a very good kula. Not very, very good kula. We take this shach and we apply it very, very strongly to a very common scenario. What usually happens? Often, it's a very common thing. The ainas are approaching, and you seek someone already. So many times, what am I going to wait? I'm going to tell my husband it started, it's here, and I'll start counting, right? What happens? 24 hours later, it's clean, nothing happens. So what do? They call it off. They said I found a Kasimov on the Begins wall. 24 hours happened, nothing, I'm not getting a period, nothing's happening. What's it's not going to be? It's good, you're fine. What's the follow-up question? But I already told my husband, I'm in it. So we use the shach that if the whole thing was a toast, the whole thing was a mistake, it's the same thing. She found a makkah, or she said she's in it batos because she thought that this is the beginning of the flow, but it's not. We use the same yisoid, and it's not a problem.
There's something if that's the
So when is the problem?
There's a problem, you have no master. I'll tell you, this last week, somebody asked,
Then it's a lot bigger problem. No.
if people are having the shilos,
Yeah.
you have to see a mumcha. You have to find out your status in halacha, but you also have to see a mumcha. I'm telling you, last night the shaila came in, last week the shaila came in, I think twice even. I don't know, it's getting common. But Al Kapam, you learn out from here,
Why did you say she was an Indian?
that's the thing.
Doesn't want
You gotta see a mukha. There's a lot of other.
You have to see a mumcha and shalom bayis, 100%. Sorry?
They ask this question, you send them.
Sure, absolutely. Again, it depends.
He's upset, and that's an amasla. You go back and say, I said that I was upset, and now I'm back.
Yeah. It does work. You have the Ramah. She should have Zatzla, and yeah, also. And the problem is,
I did not call you. Wasn't it?
it's the same.
That's not then just say no. That's if you can't say no, it's also a problem.
The fact that it's happening, you have to see.
Yeah, exactly.
Last night, late at night, somebody asked, my wife came home from the mikvah, and he asked me, did you typo? I said, no, I'm in it still. What do you do? So we have the Ramah that she based on the Rabbi Yerucham, she's chayzer, they dibur. If right away she was chayzer by, that's fine. But there's another mikvah. You have Aruch HaShulchan. The Aruch HaShulchan writes that if she was making a joke, you have to be makir b'dvarah, you have to know the vados, you know her very well, that was taka joke. If that's the case, it's not a problem. But if you have a suffix, then she needs a real amasla. She needs a real excuse. And again, the Rashal writes that for these specific cases, it's managed case by case. It's a shaila, every single time it's a shaila b'fnei atzma. It's not so simple. That's a good. When you find a mikvah, it's going to give you a receipt.
Find the shalom bayis one also.
Yeah. There's this famous story with the Ramah. The Ramah didn't write in Shulchan Aruch. There is a famous story with the Ramah. He wanted to be in battle in Nina, whatever. There was a famous story in Cleveland. Not in Cleveland. Cincinnati. You said Cincinnati? You know this story? Oh, Cincinnati, yeah. Okay.
Everybody just thinks it's England and this is
China. The story was that the derech of the mikvah was to send a receipt. For the past few months, the husband didn't get anything. And every time she came home, and she said to her, on me, what's going on over here? He called her off, and said, suffer Allah, mind your own business. She said to her, on me, the Torah says she has no notice. No, don't.
Okay, the same person says that. If the says, I did go, and the Lord said I didn't go. That's it.
No, she said she went.
No, in a different case, I did it for the other case, I didn't
Can I ask you a harder question?
go. No, it's actually the receipt, because I didn't go. The receipt doesn't change that fact.
Annas, 1 second.
Exactly both sides.
So what was the end of the story? The end of the story was, it was put on her cycle, it was always the new mikvah lady who didn't know the system. She took a title, she just didn't know how to send the receipts. She was a new worker. That was the
someone tells you, let's say your wife or someone tells you, say, the person will leave
What do you mean?
to tell the husband. So let's say the wife's friend or
Yeah, somebody's kosher, absolutely, sure. Sure. This could show the brings from Chatzas, whatever somebody's kosher, yeah, absolutely. Sure.
if someone says, I'm still needing right after the
But that was the case.
do they have to wait another 2 weeks or do they have to just go back to work?
Sure. Without a master, shouldn't the king start. Big problem.
Wait, you said I still need her? Says I didn't go to Nick. I didn't tell you.
Yeah.
Or get counted.
If she said she didn't tell you, you don't have to count.
Right. Now,
If she said I'm in need, if I'm still in need, in a chnama, she doesn't have to tell you.
I'm leader. I'm a leader. Then just count. Said I'm leader, then means that she's going back. It's only two
Exactly. It's fine, 7 days, not 12 days. Yeah. So what do you take out from here? You have to make more shiur and shalom bayis. Or the shalom to begin with. And the last method I want to end off with is a kinuach, a tissue. A tissue is a big shiloh. Many Rabbanim asking very differently. Minakotza, lakotza, mamish, l'deiraisa, to tar, l'gamri, whatever it is. So ask for the shiloh. If you see it, it's very common. People look, it's instinct, it's not a problem. If somebody looked, it's not a big deal. You don't have to get upset. But you should know, it's a kinuach. Don't run right away to make yourself a nida. It's a shiloh. There's a shiloh.
Yeah. A white tissue is not a white fabric.
It's different. I'll check. There was a shot there. I see him. There might have been a gush of me. They always meant ultra. It's a big difference. You know,
Okay.